YouTube social media star Logan Paul is set to challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed Universal Championship at Crown Jewel. Plus, could Warner Media Discovery be about to merge with NBCUniversal? We have an update on the status of Ezekiel in WWE. We have #1 contenders for the Tag Team Championships. Braun Strowman is set to make his in-ring WWE return next week on SmackDown. A star turns face on SmackDown last night, and the SmackDown Women's Championship match at Extreme Rules now has an extreme stipulation. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE, and we've got to start off talking about this Logan Paul-Roman Reigns match that is set to main event Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia for the undisputed Universal Championship. Now, there's a bit of a timeline with this one. Of course, SmackDown was last night. We've got more confirmation about it, and we'll have more confirmation at the end of today because there is a big press conference scheduled for today. But this is a huge story, and it's kind of not totally come out of nowhere, but nevertheless, it is surprising. So, yesterday evening, Dave Meltzer tweeted, big major WWE news stories coming soon, or breaking soon. And everyone thought, considering what has broken on Fridays in the past, i.e. Vince McMahon scandal, Vince McMahon resignation/retirement, something big could be happening. Now, it wasn't as big as the chairman and CEO of the company retiring, but it was certainly somewhat surprising, somewhat out of left field, if you haven't been totally closely paying attention to what's going on. Now, we knew that Logan Paul was going to appear on SmackDown last night. He did. He was invited earlier on in the week. But the plans for Paul to appear on WWE television are certainly much bigger than some fans anticipated. Now, recently, Logan Paul has been taking aim at the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. And as I mentioned, he appeared on SmackDown last night to address what's next for him. Now, prior to last night's show, it was reported via PW insider Mike Johnson that the plan is for Roman Reigns to have a match with Logan Paul at Crown Jewel in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on November 5th. Furthermore, Dave Meltzer then followed this up by reporting that WWE is set to hold a press conference in Las Vegas today on September 17th to formally announce the Crown Jewel main event between Reigns and Paul. Now, when it comes to Logan Paul's in-ring career, of course, Paul has impressed many with his recent in-ring work over the last, 2 years or so. Now, the YouTube star teamed up with The Miz to take on Rey and Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania 38. He then turned his attention to his former partner. Of course, after The Miz attacked him at WrestleMania, this then led to the match at SummerSlam, where Logan Paul was incredibly impressive. He was very impressive at WrestleMania as well. He hit Miz with the splash from the top rope onto the announce table during the match. Fantastic athleticism. He then pinned The Miz with a skull-crushing finale. On the flip side, you've got Roman Reigns, who is the guy, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the one in WWE. He is the top WWE superstar. He's held the Universal Championship for over 700 days, the WWE Championship for over 150 days. He's fresh off a successful championship defense against Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle, thanks to some assistance from his cousin and latest member of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa. Now, it's certainly a fresh face to face him, but now we have more details on it, as I mentioned, after SmackDown last night. So this announcement hasn't been made official yet that Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul is going to be the main event of Crown Jewel. That announcement is going to be made today because WWE has confirmed that both Reigns and Paul will be appearing at a press conference in Las Vegas today to address their status for the main event, or for the event rather, in Saudi Arabia on November 5th. The presser will start at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, and will be streaming across WWE social media platforms. I'm sure there'll be a lot of buzz. Now, as I mentioned, Logan Paul was on SmackDown last night. He called out Roman Reigns, asking the tribal chief to meet him face-to-face at the press conference in Vegas. Now, while Paul didn't officially challenge Reigns to a match, he teased doing so while being confronted by the returning Paul Heyman. Of course, Heyman returned to WWE television for the first time since taking an F5 from Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam through an announce table. The segment led to Sami Zayn stepping up to Paul, who then proceeded to drop the honorary Uce with his lucky shot. Thereafter, Ricochet and Zayn wrestled an impromptu match as Ricochet, with Logan Paul in his corner, prevailed with a victory. The seeds for this, as I mentioned, have been planted. This kind of as I mentioned, if you weren't necessarily paying complete attention to events that have been going on, you might think, this is really out of left field. What are they doing with this one? The seeds have kind of been planted a little bit because Roman Reigns appeared on Logan Paul's impulsive podcast earlier this month, and during the closing stages of the interview, Paul revealed that he had eyes set on Reigns' championships, leading to a Twitter exchange that also featured Heyman. Reigns himself is set to appear on SmackDown next week. He's set to make his return to SmackDown in Salt Lake City, Utah. The head of the table, of course, has been away from WWE television since his successful title defense against Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. So, how do I feel about this one? I kind of have mixed feelings on this one, to be honest with you. When I first saw the news that they were actually going to do this, I went, really? Logan Paul challenging for the undisputed Universal Championship? I have no issue whatsoever with celebrity involvement in pro wrestling. I have said a million times here on this channel that I really don't have an issue with it at all. I think it's smart business. I know that for whatever reason, pro wrestling fans get so upset about celebrities, athletes, singers, or whoever coming into pro wrestling and taking spots from the boys. And I don't think that feeling of being upset about it just comes from them watching shoot interviews in the past, or just comes from seeing interviews or seeing people say stuff, and they just take that opinion and that's their own opinion now. In reality, shouldn't you want to see what entertains you the most? Shouldn't you want to see what will be the most successful in terms of business? Isn't that what you want to see? And if you're entertained as a fan, who cares about taking a spot away from the boys or the girls or anything like that? So I've never really subscribed to anything like that. Now, when it comes to challenging for the undisputed Universal Championship, that's when I go, we might be getting a little bit too far here. What's Logan Paul had? 2 matches? And now suddenly he can challenge for the championship, which some wrestlers don't get to challenge for their entire career. That's a step too far, because if we are going to treat this as legitimate, which it's not, and it's sports entertainment, but if we're going to treat this as trying to have this suspension of disbelief, as it were, shouldn't you build yourself up? Shouldn't you have to work for that championship? If Logan Paul had 3 or 4 more matches and was incredibly impressive and beat big people, then you would go, fair enough. But what, he's going to get an undisputed Universal Championship match just because he's Logan Paul? It's not as if he's got this huge career of pro wrestling behind him that you go, oh, he's a returning legend. Fair enough. What has he done? He's defeated, the Mysterios in tag team action, and he's defeated The Miz. That's it. And that's enough to face Roman Reigns. Some people never get that opportunity in their entire career, and they deserve it. So I don't know about that. But the language that is being used here is certainly very careful. I think the expectation is that he's going to challenge Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Universal Championship, but maybe that's not believable to WWE. Maybe they might just think, actually, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's just have it be Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. Let's have it be non-title. And maybe that might be the way to go, because then that makes sense. It's an exhibition match. It's just Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul, no titles on the line. And at least actually then you could maybe buy into, because if it's for the title, there's no way Logan Paul wins the Undisputed Universal Championship. They don't have Roman Reigns be the champion for over 700 days, nearly over 2 years, only for Logan Paul to end that title reign. They don't do that. But if it's just a regular singles non-title match, there's that element of doubt, that seed of doubt in the back of your mind of, well, Reigns hasn't lost a singles match. Could he actually lose a singles match to Logan Paul? Would they do that? And the answer is no, but I suppose if you're going to go all that way, you might as well put the title on the line. Look, it's just a big marketing selling point. And whilst you might not like it, whilst you might be indifferent on it, whatever opinion you may have, for what it is, it's good business. It's good business because whether people are outraged, whether they're not, people will watch. People will watch. They're like, so Logan Paul, unfortunately, whether you like Logan Paul or not, is good for business. He is good for business because he gets eyeballs on the product that weren't there. WWE wouldn't keep bringing him back. They wouldn't have signed him to a contract if they didn't think he could move the needle. And that needle is different nowadays. It's not just television ratings. It's social media followers. It's hits. It's impressions. It's retweets. It's likes. It's everything above. It's YouTube views. It's subscribers. Whatever. Logan Paul can drive that. He can. He's proven to do it. Not just obviously in his social media world, not just on his YouTube channel, but also in boxing. He's had very successful events against the likes of KSI and Floyd Mayweather. And WWE knows money when they see it. So it's smart business on that front. And I have no doubt in my mind that Logan Paul can deliver a good match against Roman Reigns. This is one of the things I was saying before Logan Paul even wrestled his first match in WWE, is that he's the perfect fit. He is a WWE superstar because Obviously, he's got the personality for it because he rubs people the wrong way. He can talk. He knows how to market himself. So clearly he's got that part of it down. But also, people forget his athletic background. The guy was a wrestler in high school and is in fantastic shape. And he's incredibly athletic. He's a big guy. So clearly he's made for this. So I have no doubt the match will be better than people think because everything that Logan Paul's done so far in WWE has been better than people expected. The issue is, if you're going to present Logan Paul as the babyface, people don't want to cheer for him. I think he won people over with his performance at SummerSlam, and I think that's a credit to The Miz as well, it must be said. But on top of that, Roman Reigns, whilst he's the bad guy, he's going to be cheered here because he's the wrestler and he's cool. And Logan Paul, the WWE Universe, doesn't really care for him anyway. So how they're going to get around that, I don't know. But in terms of business, it's smart. In terms of having the press conference in Vegas today, that's very smart as well. It's very shrewd. There's a ton of people. There's a ton of press in Vegas right now for that Canelo versus GGG trilogy fight. So it makes total sense. It does make total sense. I'm not sure, again, I'm totally on board with Logan Paul challenging for the title. And they might not have it be for the title. But in terms of a business idea, it makes total sense for me. So I don't have too much of an issue with that. And I know some people do, but I think it's smart business. And anything that gets people talking, anything that not only gets people talking, but gets people outraged or saying, no, that's good, or is polarizing, or gets people that don't regularly watch wrestling to watch wrestling, and this will be the case with this one. It'll get a lot of outside eyeballs on this one. It's good. It's good for the product. It's good for the business. So I honestly don't have a problem with it, it must be said. Let's talk about this. This is really, really interesting. AEW, of course, airs on TBS and TNT, which is a Warner Media or Warner Bros. Discovery property, and WWE has their pay-per-views or their premium live events rather on Peacock, and also Monday Night Raws airs on the USA Network, which are both properties of NBCUniversal. Well, a new report suggests that NBCUniversal and Warner Bros. Discovery could soon merge, which is really fascinating. If this gets bigger, this could be huge for the futures of WWE and All Elite Wrestling. So Warner Bros. Discovery, which came into being last April for a merger of Warner Media and Discovery, might be facing another merger in the near future through a union with Comcast NBCUniversal. Now, The Hollywood Reporter cited an unnamed entertainment industry executive in speculating Comcast CEO Brian Roberts will seek a merger with Warner Bros. Discovery. The same sources claim that David Zlav, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is the president and CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery, is also eager to merge with another media company. Quote, obviously Peacock sucks, said one anonymous executive, referring to the NBC Universal service that offers WWE content to streaming audiences. There are some good synergies. I'm sure Roberts is licking his chops because the Warner Bros. Discovery stock is so low. And I think that's Zlav's endgame. Get the place sold. Now, another unnamed entertainment executive, added this combination seemed likely, noting that people feel like it's Comcast for sure for such a transaction to occur. Now, The Hollywood Reporter noted that Zlav met Roberts and NBC CEO Jeff Shell during the Allen & Co. business conference in Sun Valley last July. Though the context of the meeting was not known, the merger deal that structured Warner Bros. Discovery prevents the company from pursuing another merger until April 2024, which of course is in about 18 months' time or so. If a Comcast Warner Bros. Discovery merger did go through, it could have major ramifications for the wrestling industry, as NBC Universal and Warner Bros. Discovery have strong relationships with WWE and AEW respectively, potentially raising a question as to which wrestling organization would stay in partnership with the combined entity. Earlier this year, WWE co-CEO Nick Khan touted how WWE has expanded their audience and viewership with the Peacock partnership, adding that WWE feels they have outperformed on Peacock when it comes to advertising and subscription. Meanwhile, AEW has likewise touted its strong relationship with Warner Bros. Discovery. So this is one to kind of keep an eye out for, essentially. Nothing's going to happen in the immediate future. Again, they're actually banned from doing so, or prohibited, rather, from doing so, Warner Bros. Discovery, until April of 2024. So don't expect anything to happen anytime soon when it comes to that, but it's certainly a really interesting one. The Warner Bros. Discovery merger, it could be one of the biggest and sort of catastrophic failings in recent business history. Of course, they had this big merger, and then obviously the new CEO makes all of these cuts to all of these projects. Of course, you've probably seen in the news the Batgirl movie get cancelled, and all this kind of stuff, and lots of projects and TV shows and movies and things in production were cancelled, and that was at a cost-cutting measure. It was to save money. The issue is it totally backfired, because by cancelling all of those projects, it actually caused the stock to go down so much that they then lost even more money. So by trying to save money, they actually lost a ton of money. Something ridiculous like $2 billion was wiped off their value by so much drop in the stock price, which was, again, incredible, really. And to the point where it's something like this year, and we're in September, Warner Bros. Discovery only has the budget to release 2 films. And one of them is the Olivia Wilde, a film that's coming out. That's all of this controversy with Florence Pugh and Harry Styles and Chris Pine and Shia LaBeouf and all this kind of stuff. I forget what it's called. And the other movie is Black Adam with The Rock, and that's the only budget that they have to release films this year. The other projects such as Aquaman and Shazam have all been pushed back. So there certainly feels like there might be an element of truth in this one. And when it comes to wrestling, because this is a wrestling channel, look, if this new entity, whatever that entity would be, NBCUniversal, Warner Bros. Discovery Inc., right, this merger, if they had to pick a wrestling company, they're picking WWE. It's the most traditional one. It's the biggest one. It's the one that makes the most money. It's the one that's got the most brand recognition and value. They would stick with WWE. Whether or not that happened, that'll be a long way off. And AEW, of course, are going to be coming into their discussions for television contracts very soon. So keep an eye out for that one. That's a really interesting story. Ezekiel, we haven't seen Ezekiel in recent weeks, and we're not going to, seemingly going forward. Now, of course, the Raw after WrestleMania saw Ezekiel debut in WWE, Elias's younger brother. However, we haven't seen Ezekiel, or any of his family members that is, for weeks, ever since Kevin Owens viciously attacked Ezekiel, slamming him against the ring apron with a powerbomb. Ezekiel was hospitalized, and now it seems as if we have a sad update for fans of Elias's younger brother. According to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, Ezekiel has been delisted from WWE's internal roster. Instead, however, the older brother to Ezekiel has been relisted as of last week. This would appear to mean that Ezekiel will fade back into obscurity, and when the time is right, and when his beard grows back, probably most importantly, Elias will now return to regular action in WWE. Now, why we can't have the two brothers appearing on screen like they did before, or multiple members of the Elias Ezekiel family appear, remains to be seen. Nevertheless, it would appear that Ezekiel is no more and Elias is set to return, which, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, makes a lot of sense, really. I mean, Ezekiel, the gimmick of Ezekiel and the multiple family members had no business getting us over as it did. And that's a huge credit to Ezekiel, Elias, whatever you want to call him, and Kevin Owens for getting that gimmick over when it had no chance. It's a dumb gimmick. It's been done before in Impact Wrestling with Chris Parks Abyss, who ironically is a producer for WWE now. It's the same storyline of, oh, he's my younger brother, and you're the same person. It's the same storyline. It's the same storyline from 2011 Impact Wrestling. Same thing. I'm sure it's been done multiple times in pro wrestling history. But it had no business getting us over as it did, and being as popular as it did, and being as good as it was. But when you do step back, it doesn't have a lot of legs. You know, you can only go so far with it. And again, when you really take a step back, it goes quite stupid, really, as a gimmick. And like I said, credit to Elias for getting it as over as he did. Now, whether or not Elias, when he comes back, is going to be the same version of Elias that he was before, I don't know. You know, we don't know when Elias, was dead and went away with those vignettes last year. We don't know if that was Elias's choice or Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard's choice. We don't know. But it would appear that Elias is going to be coming back once the time is right. And as I mentioned, I guess once his beard grows back, etc. So expect to see Elias soon and less of Ezekiel moving forward. We have new number one contenders for the Tag Team Championship. Ridge Holland and Butch are set to face the Usos for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships next week on SmackDown in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Brawling Brutes earned a title shot by winning a number one contenders fatal four-way match on SmackDown last night, defeating the New Day, Hit Row, and Imperium. They deserve it, to be honest. They absolutely deserve it because, I mean, the Brawling Brutes, or just Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch are super over, coming out of Clash at the Castle and the match he had with Gunther, and then the tag team match they had last week, which was quite interesting considering Imperium won. They've just been having match after match after match after match. It's been incredible. I don't expect them to win next week because the Usos are going to hold on to the tag team title for the foreseeable future. And I think the person to take the titles off them are going to be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I think that's the long-term storyline. But in terms of the matches, that faction, Sheamus, Rich Holland and Butch, having just classic match after classic match. So huge credit to them, absolutely. Speaking of SmackDown next week, it will feature the in-ring return of Braun Strowman for the first time in over 16 months. Braun Strowman will wrestle a match for WWE next week on SmackDown from Salt Lake City in Utah. It was announced on this week's show that Strowman will face Otis in the first match back he has with the company. The match was set up after the Monster Among Men had a physical altercation with Otis and Chad Gable of the Alpha Academy. He had initially taken out the Maximum Male models as they prepared to walk down the ramp to display their back-to-school collection. After Strowman annihilated the Maximum Male model members, Gable would run down to the ring to confront him a week after Strowman had attacked the Alpha Academy on his official return to the Blue Brand. Although Alpha Academy managed to exact some revenge on Strowman, with Otis hitting the former Universal Champion with a big splash in the corner, followed by a World's Strongest Slam. Strowman kept getting back up before Otis and Gable retreated to the back. This will be his first match since he last had his last match in WWE, which actually was at WrestleMania Backlash, where he and Drew McIntyre unsuccessfully challenged for the WWE Championship. That was how wild it was for Strowman, wasn't it? Is that his last match before he got released was for the WWE title. So it is wild, but certainly he's going to win next week, and he's being positioned as a top babyface in WWE, which is how you have to use him. As I think it was a Cornette saying, is, you know, you're going to be either main event, or you can't be with someone like him. You got to be main event, or that's it. You can't be taking arm drags in the opening match. And that's the case with Braun Strowman. So I think the presentation of him so far has actually been very good. So credit to WWE and everyone involved. We saw a face turn last night on SmackDown as Shotzi is suddenly now a babyface. Now, Raquel Rodriguez suffered a post-match beatdown at the hands of Damage Control following her loss to Bayley. However, just as Big Mammy Cool appeared to be outnumbered by Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky, Shotzi ran down to the ring to rescue Rodriguez from the heels. By the end of the segment, Shotzi had officially turned babyface. Now, there was some speculation of Shotzi undergoing a character change after an earlier report from Fightful Select via Sean Ross Sapp suggested that a particular element of her old NXT character was being brought back, with plans in place for Shotzi's tank to be delivered to the venue of Friday's show at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California. While Shotzi did not step out with her tank Friday, it appears she will be bringing back her tank very soon, which again is good because, let's face it, these were one of the elements that got her over in NXT, was the tank, was the ball pit, and all this kind of stuff. So it was classic Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. Whatever got you over in NXT will take it away from you when you get to the main roster. And then question, why aren't they over? What do you think? What do you think? So Shotzi is now a babyface. Finally, we have a stipulation for the SmackDown Women's Championship match at Extreme Rules. It will now be an Extreme Rules match. The challenge was issued by Morgan to Rousey during last night's edition of SmackDown when the two came face-to-face backstage. Rousey scoffed and laughed at the challenge before turning to a serious demeanor, telling Morgan, "It's your funeral." So seemingly it feels like Liv Morgan is now the heel in this situation, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is an elaborate way for Liv Morgan to once again retain the SmackDown Women's Championship, honestly. So keep an eye out for that one, because I think there's a longer term story at play here. But there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news stories. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.